Vivian's hand trembled as she pressed the gun against Jiho's temple, her finger on the trigger. His blood dripped onto her white gallery floor, some of it his, most of it from the 3 men he'd just killed to get to her. He didn't flinch, didn't beg. Those dark eyes just stared at her with something that looked like relief. "Do it," Kang Jiho whispered, his Korean accent thick with exhaustion. "If you're going to kill me, Vivian, do it now. Before I tell you the truth. Before you find out what I've done. Before you learn that every single moment of your life for the past 7 years has been a lie I constructed." 7 years? Vivian's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd only known this man for 30 seconds since he'd crashed through her gallery window, fought off armed attackers with his bare hands, and turned those midnight eyes on her like she was salvation and damnation wrapped in one. "I don't know you," she said, but her hand wavered. "Yes, you do. Columbia University. You saved a kid from bullies. I was the one who sent those bullies after him." His smile was broken, beautiful, devastating. "I wanted to see what you'd do. Wanted to see if you were as good as you pretended to be. You were better. And I've been obsessed with you ever since." Behind them, sirens wailed. The bodies on her floor weren't moving. And Jiho pulled a contract from his blood-soaked jacket, slapping it on her desk. $3 million. 6 months as my fake girlfriend. Sign it, and I'll tell you the truth about your father's death, about why those men just tried to kill you, about the role you've been playing in a game you didn't even know you were in. He leaned closer to the gun, his forehead touching the barrel. Or pull the trigger. End this before it destroys us both. Because Vivian, once you sign that contract, once you hear what I know, there's no innocence left. No going back. You'll be just as damned as me. Vivian should pull the trigger. Should call the police. Should do anything except what she did next. She lowered the gun, picked up the pen, and signed her name. Jiho's eyes flashed with something between triumph and grief. "God forgive us both," he whispered. What Vivian didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that her signature just activated a plan 7 years in the making. That the man she'd just agreed to fake date had orchestrated every major event of her adult life. That her father hadn't died in an accident. He'd been murdered by the man now extending his hand to help her step over the bodies. And the most terrifying part? Some broken piece of Vivian already knew. Had always known. And signed anyway. If you're ready for a love story that will shatter every line between victim and villain, where the person you should run from is the only one who can save you, and every kiss tastes like beautiful poison, then stay with me. Because this isn't a love story. It's a confession. And by the end, you won't know who the real monster is. I promise you, you won't see any of this coming. 3 hours earlier, Vivian Wright had been having a perfectly normal day. Her gallery, Melanin and Soul, was preparing for a show featuring her latest collection, visceral pieces that explored the intersection of African and Korean aesthetics through the lens of controlled chaos. Her assistant Maya had just left for the day, commenting on how Vivian seemed distracted lately. She was alone now, touching up a painting titled Beautiful Destruction, all violent reds and blacks, slashes of gold that looked like light trying to break through darkness. The kind of art that made gallery patrons uncomfortable enough to buy it, as if owning the piece would help them understand the rage it represented. The kind of art her therapist, Dr. Chin, said came from unprocessed trauma about her father abandoning her when she was 10 years old. Vivian stepped back, examining her work with a critical eye. The painting felt unfinished, like it was waiting for something. Or maybe she was the one waiting. For what, she couldn't say. Her phone buzzed on the desk. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, probably another spam call, but something made her look. Text message, "He's coming for you. If you want to live, there's a gun in your desk drawer, bottom left. You have 3 minutes. Trust nothing he says. J.W. James Wright. Her father. Dead for 3 weeks in what police had ruled a car accident in Seoul. Vivian's hands shook as she opened the drawer. There was a gun. Glock 19, loaded, safety off. How the fuck had someone put a gun in her desk? When? She'd been here all day, and Maya would have noticed. Unless it had been there for weeks. Months. Years. The gallery suddenly felt too large, too exposed. Floor-to-ceiling windows that had seemed beautiful this morning now felt like vulnerabilities. She grabbed the gun, her art history degree not preparing her for the weight of it, the cold reality of holding death in her hands. Her phone buzzed again. 2 minutes. Don't trust your eyes. Don't trust your heart. He's been lying since the beginning. JW. This is insane, Vivian whispered to the empty gallery. Her father was dead. She'd seen the body at the morgue in Seoul, identified him herself even though she hadn't spoken to him in 15 years. This had to be some sick prank, except. The gallery window exploded inward. 3 men in tactical gear stormed through, glass raining down like crystal snow. They moved with military precision, weapons drawn, faces covered. Vivian dove behind her desk, her heart trying to punch through her ribcage. She heard her own screaming, high and terrified, barely recognizing the sound as human. Target acquired, one of them said in Korean. Sweep and secure. Vivian understood enough Korean to know what that meant. They were here to kill her. She raised the gun with shaking hands, wondering if she could actually pull the trigger, if she had it in her to take a life. Her finger found the trigger, and she realized with crystal clarity that yes, she could kill to survive. But she didn't have to. Gunshots erupted, not from her weapon, but from the shattered window. The 3 attackers went down in rapid succession, professionally executed headshots that painted her white walls with arterial spray. The whole thing took maybe 5 seconds. Then silence. Vivian's ears rang. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what she just witnessed. A figure stepped through the broken window, silhouetted against the late afternoon sun. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the fluid grace of a predator. He was bleeding from multiple wounds, shoulder, side, a gash across his cheek, but he walked like the injuries were minor inconveniences. As he stepped into the light, Vivian's breath caught. She knew this man. Knew him in the way you know a recurring dream, something half-remembered and electric. Kang Ji-ho. Columbia University, 7 years ago. The quiet Korean student who sat in the corner of the library's top floor, always watching, always alone. The one whose name appeared on the dean's list every semester but who never attended a single social event. The one who every other student whispered about, half in fear, half in fascination. The one who used to watch her with eyes that promised either salvation or destruction, and Vivian had never been able to decide which. He looked older now. Harder. The soft edges of youth had been carved away, leaving something sharp and dangerous. But those eyes, God, those eyes were exactly the same. Dark as midnight, intense enough to burn. Hello, Vivian, he said in that voice she tried to forget, the one that had haunted her dreams for years. The slight Korean accent made her name sound like a prayer. We need to talk. That's when she raised the gun and pointed it at his head. Don't move, she said, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. I will shoot you. I know you will. You're your father's daughter, survival is in your DNA. Ji-ho raised his hands slowly, but he didn't look afraid. He looked relieved. But before you pull that trigger, you should know 3 things. I don't want to know anything except why there are dead bodies in my gallery. First, those men were sent by the Beck family to torture you for information you don't have, then kill you slowly. I just saved your life. He took a step closer, and Vivian's finger tightened on the trigger. Second, your father James Wright wasn't an international businessman who died in a car accident. He was CIA, deep cover in Korean organized crime for 15 years. He was murdered 3 weeks ago. The world tilted. You're lying. Third, Ji-ho's eyes held hers with an intensity that made her skin flush hot. I've been in love with you since the day I watched you defend that freshman in the Columbia Library from those bullies. I've spent 7 years protecting you from the shadows, and now circumstances have forced me into the light. So yes, Vivian, pull that trigger if you want. But know that the moment you do, you'll be alone against an enemy you can't see, can't fight, and can't survive. Vivian's hand trembled. The gun suddenly felt impossibly heavy. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. But your father knew you'd need proof. Ji-ho slowly reached into his jacket, Vivian almost shot him, and pulled out a phone. He sent you this text 5 minutes ago. My father is dead. Is he? Jiho pressed play on a video. The screen showed a man Vivian recognized, even though he looked 20 years older than she remembered. James Wright, alive, recording what looked like a hostage video. Vivian, baby girl, if you're seeing this, I'm either dead or close to it. Everything Kang Jiho tells you is true. Trust him. He's been keeping you safe since Colombia. The Beck family wants you dead because they think you have my evidence. You don't, I made sure of that. But they won't believe you. Get to safety. Let Jiho protect you. And sweetheart, I'm sorry. For leaving. For the life I lived. For everything. Her father's voice broke. I love you. I always have. The video ended. Vivian felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. This could be fake. Deepfake technology. Ask me something only James Wright would know. Something I couldn't possibly have learned from surveillance. Vivian thought frantically. What was my mother's favorite song? The one she sang when she put me to bed? Jiho didn't hesitate. La Vie en Rose. Edith Piaf. She sang it in French even though her accent was terrible, and she'd always cry at the bridge because she missed her semester abroad in Paris. His expression softened. Your father told me. Said you used to request it every night until she died. After that, you never asked anyone to sing to you again. The gun lowered. No one knew that. She'd never told anyone, not even her therapist. Oh God, Vivian whispered. This is real. This is actually happening. I'm afraid so. Jiho moved closer, and this time she didn't stop him. And we have about 4 minutes before my cleanup crew arrives, and you need to make a decision. What decision? He pulled out a contract from his blood-soaked jacket and slapped it on her desk. The pages were spattered with red, but the text was clear. $3 million. 6 months as my girlfriend, publicly, convincingly. In exchange, I provide you with 24/7 protection, access to my resources, and the truth about your father's work. His voice dropped lower. I'll also tell you about the role you've been playing in a game you didn't even know existed. About the scholarships that weren't random. About the gallery funding that seemed too good to be true. About the 7 years I've spent manipulating your life from the shadows to keep you safe. Vivian's stomach dropped. What are you saying? I'm saying every major opportunity you've had since Colombia, the full scholarship, the grant for your gallery, even some of your biggest clients, I arranged it all. Your father asked me to watch over you. I agreed because it was good business. But then I met you, really saw you, and it became something else. His eyes were intense, burning. It became obsession. You became my religion, Vivian. The one pure thing in my corrupt world. And I've spent 7 years orchestrating your success while keeping threats away from you. She should be furious. Should feel violated, manipulated. And she did. But underneath the anger was something else, a terrible understanding. You're the reason my life felt too easy sometimes, she said slowly. The reason doors opened that should have stayed closed. Yes. You've been playing God with my life. Yes. And now you want me to sign a contract making me your fake girlfriend? I want you to sign a contract that gives me legal standing to protect you. The girlfriend angle is cover. It explains why I'm suddenly keeping you close, why my enemies can't touch you without going through me first. He leaned forward, close enough that she could smell his cologne beneath the copper scent of blood. But Vivian, nothing about how I feel for you is fake. That's the one truth in all these lies. Vivian looked at the contract. At the bodies on her floor. At this beautiful, dangerous man who claimed to have loved her for 7 years. She should run. Should call the actual police, not his cleanup crew. Should do anything except what every instinct was screaming at her to do. If I sign this, what happens to my life? My gallery? My freedom? Your gallery continues operating. I'll install security and vet your clients, but it's still yours. Your freedom. He paused. That's complicated. You'll live with me. Attend events as my partner. Play the role convincingly. But Vivian, I promise you this, I will never force you to do anything you don't want to do. This arrangement ends the moment you say so. And the $3 million? Insurance. So you never feel trapped. So you can walk away anytime and rebuild somewhere safe. His hand covered hers on the gun, gently lowering it. I'm asking you to trust me, even though I've given you no reason to. I'm asking you to sign away 6 months of your life to a man who's admitted to stalking you, manipulating you, and being obsessed with you for 7 years. I know how insane this sounds. Then why would I possibly agree? Because 3 minutes ago, men came to kill you. Because your father is either dead or in hiding. Because the Beck family won't stop until they've torn apart everyone connected to James Wright's investigation. Because I'm offering you survival wrapped in luxury. He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. And because some part of you has been waiting for this moment as long as I have. Don't lie and say you didn't notice me at Columbia. Don't pretend you didn't feel it too. Vivian's breath caught. He was right. She had noticed him. Had felt the electric pull every time their eyes met across the library. Had wondered what it would be like to know him, really know him. She just never imagined it would be like this. Behind them, she heard vehicles pulling up. His cleanup crew, making the decision for her. I need to know one thing, Vivian said. Did you kill my father? His silence was answer enough. I need to hear you say it. No, Jiho said finally, his voice rough with emotion. But I know who did. And Vivian, when I tell you the truth, you're going to wish I had lied. Vivian looked at the contract. At the gun in her hand. At the man who just shattered her entire reality. Then she picked up the pen and signed her name. Jiho's eyes flashed with something between triumph and grief. He took the contract, looked at her signature like it was a sacred relic. God forgive us both, he whispered. He won't, Vivian replied. But maybe that's not the point. Jiho's people swarmed in then, efficient, professional, dressed in uniforms that made them look like a legitimate cleaning service. They worked with practiced precision, photographing the scene, removing bodies, collecting evidence. Within 20 minutes, her gallery looked almost normal except for the shattered window. A woman approached, mid-40s, sharp-eyed, carrying a tablet. Boss, we've secured the perimeter. No witnesses. The Beck family scouts are 3 blocks out, we need to move now. Understood. Get the window replaced within the hour. I want this place operational by tomorrow. Jiho turned to Vivian. This is Min. She'll handle your gallery while you're with me. She's former NIS, Korean National Intelligence, so your business is in good hands. I didn't agree to hand over my gallery. You didn't. But you did agree to 6 months as my girlfriend, which means you need to be wherever I am. Min will manage day-to-day operations and send you reports. You still make all creative and business decisions. His tone softened. I'm not trying to take anything from you, Vivian. Just keep you alive. Min extended her hand. Ms. Wright, I've admired your work for years. It's an honor to help protect it. Despite everything, Vivian found herself shaking the woman's hand. Thank you. You have 30 minutes to pack, Jiho said, checking his watch. Anything you can't live without for the next week. My people will move the rest of your things tomorrow. Pack for what? You're moving into my penthouse tonight. Starting now, we're inseparable. The ride to Jiho's penthouse was surreal. Vivian sat in the back of an armored SUV that probably cost more than her entire gallery, watching LA pass by in a blur of lights and traffic. Jiho worked on a tablet beside her, occasionally taking calls in rapid Korean. She caught fragments of the conversations, enough to understand he was discussing the Wright situation, Beck family movements, and securing the package. She was the package. You speak Korean, Jiho observed, catching her listening. My best friend at Columbia was Korean American. Minji Park. She taught me enough to get by in Seoul and understand when people are talking about me. Vivian met his eyes. She also warned me about you. Said you were dangerous. That I should stay away. Smart woman. Did you listen? I tried. But you were always there, in my peripheral vision. Watching. Vivian's voice dropped. It should have scared me. Sometimes it did. But mostly it made me feel seen. Like someone actually noticed I existed. Something fierce flashed in Jiho's eyes. I noticed everything. The way you bit your lip when you were concentrating. How you always chose the window seat in the library because you liked watching the weather. The fact that you wore your mother's necklace on hard days, touching it like a talisman. He set down his tablet. I noticed you were lonely, even surrounded by people. That you smiled for others but rarely for yourself. That you were brilliant and talented and so goddamn beautiful it hurt to look at you. That's not normal. Nothing about how I feel for you has ever been normal. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a stray braid behind her ear. I'm not a good man, Vivian. I've done terrible things. I'll do more terrible things before this is over. But with you, I want to be better. You make me want to be human instead of the weapon my father trained me to be. Your father? Kang Dowan. You'll meet him soon enough. His expression hardened. He's the reason I am what I am. And he's going to be a problem. Before Vivian could ask what he meant, the SUV pulled into an underground garage. Private, heavily secured, with armed guards at every checkpoint. They took an elevator that required both a keycard and fingerprint scan, ascending smoothly to the top floor. When the doors opened, Vivian's breath caught. The penthouse was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of LA, the city lights sparkling like fallen stars. The space was modern, clean lines, expensive furniture in blacks and whites, original art on every wall. She recognized pieces by Basquiat, Kusama, a massive Lee bull sculpture that must have cost millions. But what caught her attention was the wall dedicated entirely to her work. 7 paintings. Pieces she'd created over the years, some she'd thought lost or sold to anonymous buyers. All of them hung in a private gallery space, lit perfectly, displayed with reverence. You bought my art, she whispered. Every piece I could acquire without raising suspicion. Some I had to buy through intermediaries. Others I commissioned under fake names. Jiho moved to stand beside her. This one, Fractured Light, I bought the day you finished it. Watched you create it over 3 weeks at Columbia. You were processing your mother's death, weren't you? Vivian nodded, unable to speak. That painting had been cathartic, painful, necessary. I understood it. The way beauty and grief can coexist. The way something broken can still be luminous. His hand found hers. That's when I knew I wasn't just obsessed with watching you. I was in love with who you are when no one's watching. The real you. Jiho. Vivian turned to face him. This is too much. All of this. The paintings, the protection, 7 years of manipulation. I know. And if you want to leave right now, I'll let you go. I'll still protect you from a distance, but I'll let you go. His eyes searched hers. Do you want to leave? Vivian should say yes. Should run while she still could. But looking into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability there beneath all that danger, she found herself saying, no. Not yet. His smile was devastating. Then let me show you your room. He led her down a hallway to a bedroom suite that took her breath away. King-sized bed with luxury linens in warm creams and golds, sitting area with a plush sofa, walk-in closet, and a bathroom that was bigger than her entire apartment bedroom. I had it redecorated, Jiho said, and Vivian heard nervousness in his voice, the first crack in his controlled exterior. The whole penthouse was very cold before. Minimalist. I thought you might like something warmer. But if you hate it, we can change everything. It's beautiful, Vivian interrupted. It's perfect. I've also taken the liberty of having some clothes prepared for you. For events and daily wear. Everything's your size, colors I thought would complement your skin tone. He moved to the closet, opened it to reveal designer pieces that probably cost more than a year of her gallery's profits. If you don't like any of it. Jiho. Vivian caught his hand, stopping the nervous rambling that was so at odds with the dangerous man who'd killed 3 people in her gallery. "Why are you really doing this?" He could have deflected. Could have repeated his earlier explanations about protection and obligation. Instead, he pulled her close, his hand cupping her face with a gentleness that made her chest ache. "Because 3 weeks ago, my younger brother Miho was killed. Officially ruled a car accident, but I know better. Someone murdered him, made it look like he lost control of his car." His voice was controlled, but she heard the rage simmering underneath. Miho was 23. Brilliant. Charming. Everyone loved him. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be." He was also a sociopath who enjoyed causing pain. A monster I helped create by not stopping my father's training method soon enough. Jiho's jaw tightened. "But he was my brother, and someone took him from me. The same people who killed your father. The Beck family." Vivian's breath caught. "They killed both of them?" "Yes. And Vivian, the reason they went after your father, the reason they're coming for you, it's all connected to evidence James Wright gathered over 15 years. Proof of crimes that could destroy multiple criminal organizations, including the Beck family. When he died, that evidence disappeared. They think you have it. But I don't even know what it would look like." "I know. That's what I keep trying to tell them, but they won't listen. To them, you're James Wright's daughter. Of course he would have left his life's work with you." His thumb stroked her cheek. "So they'll torture you until they're convinced you're telling the truth. Then they'll kill you anyway, because dead daughters can't testify." The casual way he described her potential torture and murder should have terrified her. And it did. But more than fear, Vivian felt anger. These people had killed her father, killed Jiho's brother, and now they wanted her dead for something she didn't even have. "So what's the plan?" she asked. "I sign a contract, play your girlfriend, and hope they don't kill me anyway. The plan is we find the evidence before they do." James was clever, he wouldn't have left it somewhere obvious. But he would have left clues for the one person he trusted. Jiho pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. This was taken 3 weeks before he died. The image showed Vivian at her gallery, standing in front of one of her paintings. Her throat tightened. "That's beautiful destruction. The piece I was working on when you crashed through my window." "Look closer." She did. And saw it, hidden in the brushstrokes, so subtle she'd never noticed before. Numbers. Coordinates. A combination. "Your father bought that painting 6 months ago. Paid triple its value. Told you it spoke to him, remember?" Vivian did remember. It had been odd, her father showing up after years of silence, buying her most expensive piece without haggling, then disappearing again. She'd thought he was trying to reconnect. Or maybe assuage guilt. "He encoded something in my art?" "That's my theory. And if I'm right, you've been sitting on the evidence everyone's killing for, and you didn't even know it." Jiho's expression turned grim. "Which means we need to decode it before the Beck family figures it out. Hey beautiful souls, if your heart is racing right now, if you need to know what happens next, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling me, do you trust Jiho or should Vivian run? Because I promise you, the truth is darker than either of them know. Don't go anywhere." That night, Vivian couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the attackers falling, saw blood on her gallery floor, saw Jiho's eyes promising salvation or damnation. She gave up around 2 a.m. and wandered the penthouse, exploring. The space was impressive but sterile, like a museum. No personal photographs, no knickknacks, nothing that suggested someone actually lived here. Except for one room. She found it at the end of a hallway she'd thought was just a wall. But when she leaned against it accidentally, a hidden door clicked open. Inside was an office. And every surface was covered with information about her. Photographs spanning 7 years. Vivian at Columbia, at gallery openings, volunteering at the Children's Hospital, teaching art classes. Some were clearly surveillance photos, long distance, grainy. Others looked like they'd been taken up close when she wasn't looking. There were files too. Her medical records, financial statements, college transcripts, even her therapy notes. Every detail of her life, catalogued and organized. On the desk sat a notebook, filled with Jiho's handwriting. She picked it up, her hands shaking. The entries were dated, starting 7 years ago. Asterisk, September 15, 2016, watched her in the library again. She's reading about Basquiat. Made notes about his use of text in paintings. When she smiles at something in the book, I can almost believe the world isn't completely fucked. Almost. Asterisk. Asterisk, October 3, 2016, she bought coffee for the homeless man outside her dorm. Stayed to talk with him for 20 minutes, like he mattered. Like his life had value. How does she do that? See humanity everywhere while I only see threats and targets? Asterisk. Asterisk, November 12, 2016, close call today. The Chechen Bratva was asking about Wright's daughter. Had to eliminate 2 scouts before they got too close. She'll never know how close death came. That's how it should be. She deserves to live in the light while I work in shadows. Asterisk. The entries went on and on. 7 years of obsessive documentation. 7 years of Jiho watching her, protecting her, falling deeper into love that looked more like madness. The most recent entry was dated 3 days ago. Asterisk, they killed James Wright. Tortured him for 3 days before Miho ended it. I was too late to save him, but I pulled him out, faked his death, gave him a chance to hide. He's using it to stay in the shadows, protect his daughter from afar, asterisk. Asterisk, but I'm done hiding. Done watching from a distance. The Beck family is coming for her, and I won't let them take her like they took Miho. Even if it means revealing myself. Even if she hates me for it, asterisk. Asterisk, 7 years I've waited. 7 years of telling myself I'm not good enough for her, that she deserves better than a monster who kills for a living. But I'm too selfish to let her die. So tomorrow, I make my move. Tomorrow, I finally claim what I've wanted since the moment I saw her, asterisk. Asterisk, God help us both. Asterisk. You weren't supposed to find this room. Vivian spun. Jiho stood in the doorway, wearing only sleep pants, his torso bare and covered in scars. He looked vulnerable, exposed, and more dangerous than ever. You kept a journal about me, Vivian said, her voice shaking. 7 years of surveillance. Yes. This is insane. You're insane. Yes. He moved into the room, and Vivian backed up until she hit the desk. I told you I was obsessed. This is what obsession looks like. This is stalking. This is, she gestured at the photographs, the files. A felony. Multiple felonies, actually. Add them to my list of crimes. He was close now, close enough that she could see his pulse jumping in his throat. Are you afraid of me now? Ready to run? Vivian should say yes. Should be terrified. But looking at the evidence of his obsession, reading his journal entries, she felt something else entirely. Seen. Valued. Chosen. No one had ever cared about her this much. No one had ever paid attention to the small details of her life, the things that made her human. Her father had abandoned her. Her mother had died. Friends had drifted away. But Jiho had stayed. For 7 years, he'd stayed. I should be afraid, she whispered. This isn't normal. Isn't healthy. No. It's not. But I'm not. Afraid, I mean. She looked up at him. I'm angry. I'm overwhelmed. I'm confused as hell. But Jiho, I'm not afraid of you. Something in his expression cracked. You should be. I'm dangerous, Vivian. To everyone around me. Eventually, I'll be dangerous to you too. Maybe. Or maybe you're just a man who doesn't know how to love in a normal way, so you do it the only way you know how. She touched his chest, feeling his heart racing beneath her palm. I'm not saying this is okay. I'm not excusing the stalking or the manipulation or the 7 years of watching me without my knowledge. But I understand it now. You were protecting me the only way you knew how. You're too forgiving. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of being alone. Her eyes filled with tears. Do you know what it's like to feel invisible? To move through the world like a ghost, barely making an impact? My whole life, I've felt like I was waiting for someone to really see me. And all this time, you were watching. Jiho's hands framed her face, his touch gentle despite the calluses she felt on his palms. I see you, Vivian. Every beautiful, broken, brilliant part of you. I see you, and I love what I see. When he kissed her, Vivian felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't the desperate kiss of earlier, fueled by adrenaline and fear. This was something deeper. A promise. A claiming. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his hair, her body pressing against his. 7 years of tension, of watching each other from afar, finally breaking like a dam. Jiho groaned against her mouth. We should stop. You're not thinking clearly. The trauma, the fear. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. Vivian pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I know this is insane. I know we're probably both going to regret this. But right now, in this moment, I want you. I want to feel something other than fear and confusion. I want. He kissed her again, cutting off her words. This time there was no hesitation, no holding back. He lifted her onto the desk, scattering papers and photographs. His mouth moved to her throat, and Vivian arched into him. Last chance, he breathed against her skin. Tell me to stop, and I will. But Vivian, if we do this, if I have you, I'm never letting you go. Ever. Then don't let go, she whispered. I'm tired of being alone. What followed was a night that rewrote Vivian's understanding of intimacy. Jiho touched her like she was precious and breakable and absolutely essential. He took his time, mapping every inch of her skin with his hands and mouth, murmuring in Korean how beautiful she was, how long he'd dreamed of this. When he finally moved inside her, their eyes locked, and Vivian felt something profound shift. This wasn't just physical. This was connection, raw and real and terrifying in its intensity. Afterward, wrapped in his arms in his massive bed, Vivian whispered, What happens now? Now we find your father's evidence. Now we destroy the people who killed him and Miho. Now we fight. He kissed her temple. But we do it together. I've never been in a fight before. I know. That's why I'll teach you. His arms tightened around her. Tomorrow, we start training. You need to know how to protect yourself if I'm not there. You'll always be there. You've been there for 7 years. And I'll be there for 70 more if you'll let me. He tilted her face up to his. I love you, Vivian. I know it's too soon, I know this is all moving too fast, but I've loved you for 7 years. I'm just finally saying it out loud. Vivian should pump the brakes. Should tell him love takes time, that this was just proximity and danger and Stockholm Syndrome. But looking into his eyes, seeing the absolute certainty there, she found herself saying, I think I could love you too. I think maybe I already do. His kiss was soft this time, reverent. Thank you. For giving me a chance. For not running. For being brave enough to see past the monster to the man underneath. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time since Miho's death, Jiho slept without nightmares. He had something worth protecting now. Something worth fighting for. Someone worth dying for, if it came to that. The next morning, Vivian woke to an empty bed and the smell of coffee. She found Jiho in the kitchen, cooking breakfast, looking domestic and impossibly beautiful in the morning light. You cook? She asked from the doorway. He turned, and his smile was genuine, unguarded. My mother taught me before she died. She said a man who can't feed himself is a man who'll always be dependent on others. He gestured to the counter. Sit. Coffee's ready, and breakfast is almost done. Vivian accepted the perfect cup of coffee he slid across to her. Cream, no sugar, exactly how she liked it. Of course he knew. Tell me about your mother, she said. Jiho's hands paused in their work. Then he began to speak, his voice soft with memory. Kang Mina. She was beautiful, brilliant, and completely trapped. My father married her for her family connections, not love. She knew it, accepted it, tried to make the best of a terrible situation. He plated what looked like a gourmet omelette and set it in front of Vivian. She taught me to cook, to read literature, to appreciate art. All the things my father said were useless for a future crime boss. She made me human when everything else in my life was trying to turn me into a weapon. What happened to her? She died when I was 17. Officially, a heart attack. But I've always suspected my father had a hand in it. She was talking about leaving, taking Miho and me with her. Dowan couldn't allow that. 2 weeks later, she was dead. His jaw clenched. I couldn't prove it then. But I'm older now. Smarter. And I have resources. Vivian reached across the counter and took his hand. Is that why you're willing to betray your father? To work with my dad against the family? Partially. But mostly it's because I want out. I want a life that isn't soaked in blood. He looked at her with those intense eyes. I want a future with you. And I can't have that while I'm drowning in my father's empire. So we destroy it. Together. His smile was slow, dangerous. Together. They spent the day planning. James Wright was still in hiding, but he'd sent encrypted messages with instructions. The evidence he'd gathered was extensive, enough to bring down not just the Beck family, but multiple criminal organizations including the Kong Empire. But it was hidden, encoded in places only Vivian could access. Your art, Jiho explained, showing her more photographs. He's been buying your pieces for years, always through intermediaries. I think he encoded information in the paintings themselves, or used them as keys to access hidden data. That's insane. Your father was brilliant and paranoid, a perfect combination for a deep cover operative. Jiho pulled up images of her paintings side by side. Look at these 3 pieces. All purchased by different buyers, all within a month of each other, all featuring similar color palettes and compositional elements. Vivian studied them. She'd created these pieces 2 years ago, during a particularly prolific period. Looking at them now, she saw patterns she hadn't noticed before. Recurring symbols, specific color combinations, elements that seemed deliberately placed. Oh my God, she breathed. He was using my art as a cipher. Exactly. And if we can decode it, we can access whatever he was hiding. Vivian's mind raced. I need to see all the paintings he bought. Every single one. Most are in storage facilities around the world. But I can have them brought here. Jiho made a call, rapid Korean that Vivian was starting to understand better. When he hung up, he said, they'll be here within 48 hours. That fast? I'm very motivated. And very rich. He pulled her close. But Vivian, once we access this information, everything changes. The Beck family will know we have it. My father will know. Every criminal organization your dad investigated will come for us. So we go to the authorities. FBI, CIA, whoever handles this kind of thing. It's not that simple. Some of the people your father investigated are law enforcement. Corrupt officials, dirty cops, politicians on criminal payrolls. We can't trust the system. His expression was grim. We have to be strategic. Find the right people, present the evidence in a way that can't be buried or suppressed. How do we do that? I have some ideas. But first, we need to decode your father's cipher. Then we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. The next 2 days were intense. Jiho had a security team install state-of-the-art protection systems in the penthouse and at Vivian's gallery. She met more of his people, Min, who was running her gallery with surprising skill, Juno, his head of security, Chen, the doctor who'd patched up Jiho countless times. They all treated her with respect, even reverence. She was the boss's girlfriend, which apparently made her untouchable. But it was the training that surprised her most. Again, James Wright said, appearing in the penthouse gym like a ghost. Vivian's heart had nearly stopped when she'd walked in to find her supposedly dead father stretching like he was about to teach a yoga class. You're alive, she'd gasped. Disappointed? He'd smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I know I was a terrible father. I deserve your hate. I don't hate you. She'd thrown her arms around him, sobbing. I thought you were dead. I was almost dead. Jiho saved me, faked my death, gave me a chance to finish my work. James had held her tight. I'm sorry, baby girl. For everything. For leaving. For the life I chose over being your father. For putting you in danger. You're here now. That's what matters. And for the past 2 days, he'd been teaching her to fight, to shoot, to think like an operative. Vivian discovered she had her father's aptitude for strategy and her mother's grace under pressure. Better, James said as she successfully disarmed him for the 3rd time. You're a natural. Genetics? Vivian panted. Partially. But mostly it's motivation. You're fighting for something now. Someone. James glanced at where Jiho was working out across the gym, his movements precise and deadly. You love him. It wasn't a question. I think I do. Is that crazy? Probably. But your mother fell in love with me, a CIA operative living a double life, so maybe crazy runs in the family. James cleaned his gun with practiced efficiency. Jiho's a good man in a bad situation. He's trying to get out, trying to be better. That takes courage. You trust him? As much as I trust anyone in this world. He's kept you safe for 7 years, Vivian. Even when I couldn't. James's expression turned serious. But you need to know something about the evidence I gathered. About what happens when we reveal it. What? Kang Dawan will be one of the main targets. Jiho's father will go to prison for life, maybe face execution for some of his crimes. Can you live with that? Knowing you helped put your boyfriend's father away? Vivian thought about Mina, Jiho's mother, possibly murdered by her own husband. About the man who'd turned his sons into weapons, who'd built an empire on suffering. Yes, she said firmly. I can live with it. Dawan deserves to pay for what he's done. Even if it destroys Jiho? It won't destroy him. It'll free him. Vivian met her father's eyes. He wants out, Dad. He wants a life that isn't soaked in blood. I'm going to help him get it. James smiled, genuine pride in his expression. You really are your mother's daughter. She never backed down from a fight either. That evening, the paintings arrived. 17 pieces spanning 7 years, all purchased by James through various fronts. Jiho had them arranged in the penthouse's main room, lit perfectly, creating a gallery of Vivian's evolution as an artist. It's beautiful, she murmured, studying her own work. But I still don't see the cipher. Because you're looking at them individually. Try seeing them as a whole. Jiho pulled up his tablet, showed her photographs of all 17 arranged in a grid. Your father bought them in a specific order. What if that order matters? Vivian studied the arrangement. And suddenly, she saw it. The paintings created a map when viewed together. Not a literal map, but a pattern, coordinates hidden in the composition, numbers encoded in color choices, symbols that represented specific locations. Oh my God, she breathed. It's not in the paintings themselves. It's in how they relate to each other. The negative space between pieces, the way certain colors align across multiple canvases. Creates a code, Jiho finished. Brilliant. Your father used your art as the key, but the actual cipher required seeing the whole collection together. Working late into the night, they decoded the paintings. The result was a series of coordinates, dates, and encrypted file names. Together, they pointed to a single location, a storage facility in Koreatown, under a false name. Tomorrow, Jiho said. We retrieve the evidence tomorrow. But tomorrow came with its own complications. Because when they arrived at the storage facility, they weren't alone. Baek Soo-min was waiting for them, beautiful and deadly, with a smile that promised violence. Kang Jiho, she purred. I had a feeling you'd lead us right to what we needed. Thank you. 10 armed guards surrounded them. Vivian's hand went to the gun Jiho had given her, but he stopped her with a subtle shake of his head. Soo-min, he said calmly. You're looking well. Prison must have agreed with you. I was only in custody for 48 hours. Daddy's lawyers are very good. Her eyes slid to Vivian. And this must be the famous daughter. James Wright's little girl. You look just like your mother. You knew my mother? Knew of her. Your father talked about her while we tortured him. Cried for her. It was pathetic. Suman's smile sharpened. He talked about you too. Begged us not to hurt you. So naturally, hurting you became my priority. Jiho moved in front of Vivian. Touch her, and I'll kill everyone you've ever loved. Slowly. Empty threats. You're surrounded, outgunned, and frankly, past your prime. Sumin snapped her fingers. Gentlemen, take them. I want them alive. I have questions. But feel free to be persuasive. What happened next happened fast. Jiho moved like water, like violence given form. He disarmed the closest guard, used his weapon to take down 3 more. James appeared from nowhere. He'd been hiding, waiting for the right moment, and engaged the remaining guards with brutal efficiency. Vivian did what they'd trained her to do. She found cover, she returned fire, she survived. But Sumin wasn't stupid. While they fought her guards, she slipped into the storage facility. She's going for the evidence. Vivian shouted. Jiho cursed in Korean, dispatching the last guard, and ran after Sumin. Vivian followed, her heart pounding, her gun ready. Inside the storage unit, Sumin was already accessing the hidden compartment where James had stashed his files. She had a gun in one hand, a USB drive in the other. Too late, she said triumphantly. I have what I need. You have 1 copy, Jiho replied. There are backups. Encrypted, distributed, set to automatically release to multiple news organizations and law enforcement agencies if we don't check in every 24 hours. Suman's smile faltered. You're bluffing. Am I? Jiho showed her his phone. Check the news. My people have already leaked portions of the evidence. Your father's illegal weapons deals, your family's trafficking operations, all of it. It's trending on social media right now. Vivian pulled up her own phone, and sure enough, the Beck family's crimes were being exposed in real time. Documents, photographs, video evidence, all flooding the internet faster than it could be suppressed. You're destroying both our families, Sumin hissed. Your father will go down too. I know. That's the point. Jiho's expression was carved from stone. I'm done with this life. Done with the killing, the corruption, the endless cycle of revenge. So I'm burning it all down, and I'm walking away. The families won't let you walk away. You know too much. That's why I've made deals. Immunity for testimony. Witness protection. I've been planning this for years, Sumin. You think I'd make a move without being 10 steps ahead? For the first time, Vivian saw fear in Suman's eyes. You're actually doing it. You're destroying everything. Yes. And you have a choice: surrender now, cooperate with authorities, maybe get a reduced sentence. Or run, and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder while we hunt you down. Jiho's voice was ice. What's it going to be? Suman's gun rose, pointed at Vivian. If I'm going down, I'm taking her with me. 3 gunshots rang out simultaneously. Jiho fired. James fired. And Vivian, remembering her training, fired too. Sumin fell, the gun clattering from her hand. Not dead, they'd all aimed for non-lethal shots, but down. FBI, voices shouted from outside. Come out with your hands up. Agent Sarah Park entered, weapon drawn, badge visible. She surveyed the scene, the bodies outside, Sumin bleeding on the floor, Jiho and James standing over evidence that would bring down multiple criminal empires. Well, she said dryly. This is going to be a lot of paperwork. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, if your heart is racing, go ahead and smash that like button. And make sure you're subscribed because this story is about to get even more intense. Drop a comment and tell me, did you see that coming? Let's discuss. The next few weeks were a blur of depositions, testimony, and federal protection. Vivian gave her statement dozens of times, to FBI, to CIA, to various task forces investigating organized crime. The evidence James had gathered was devastating. Kang Doan was arrested, along with what remained of the Beck family leadership. Dozens of other criminals, corrupt officials, and dirty cops were swept up in the operation. It was the largest organized crime bust in decades. And through it all, Jiho stayed by Vivian's side. He'd made his deal, full immunity in exchange for testimony that filled in gaps in James's evidence, provided insider knowledge that made prosecution airtight. But there was one confrontation Jiho couldn't avoid. Kang Doan requested a meeting with his son before his trial. Against everyone's advice, Jiho agreed. Vivian insisted on going with him. They met in a federal holding facility, in a sterile room with cameras and armed guards. Doan looked older, diminished by the orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. But his eyes were the same, cold, calculating, dangerous even in chains. "My son," he said in Korean. "The betrayer." "Father," Jiho replied in the same language. "The murderer." Vivian understood enough to follow the conversation. "You've destroyed everything I built. Everything our family stood for." Dowan's voice was tight with rage. "For what? A woman? Love?" He spat the word like a curse. "For freedom. For a chance at a life that isn't soaked in blood. For," Jiho's hand found Vivian's, "for something real in a world of lies. She'll leave you. When the novelty wears off, when she realizes what you really are, she'll leave. And you'll have nothing." Dowan leaned forward. "I'm offering you one chance. Recant your testimony. Say you were coerced. Help me beat these charges, and I'll welcome you back. We can rebuild." "No. No." Dowan's expression darkened. "You're choosing her over your own father? Over your family legacy? You're not my family. You stopped being my father when you killed my mother. When you turned Miho into a monster. When you built an empire on suffering." Jiho's voice was steel. "Vivian is my family now. Her and the life we're going to build together. You'll spend the rest of your days in prison, and I'll spend mine free. That's justice." Dowan's laugh was bitter. "You think you can escape this life? You think you can wash the blood off your hands and play house with Wright's daughter? You're naive. The life will always find you. Maybe. But I'll face it with someone I love, instead of alone in a cell." Jiho stood. "Goodbye, father. I hope prison gives you time to think about everyone you've destroyed. Starting with your own family." They left Dowan there, shouting threats and curses that echoed down the sterile hallway. Outside, in the car, Vivian held Jiho as he shook with suppressed emotion. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I know that was hard. He's not wrong. I can't wash away the blood. Can't undo what I've done. No. But you can choose to be better moving forward. That's all any of us can do." She cupped his face. "You chose to testify. You chose justice over family loyalty. That takes courage, Jiho. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing." She kissed him softly. "But we're in this together now. Whatever comes next, we face it together." His arms tightened around her. "I love you. God, Vivian, I love you so much. I love you too. My impossible, complicated, brave man." The trial took 6 months. In that time, Vivian and Jiho started building a life. They kept the penthouse but bought a villa in Tuscany, a sprawling estate surrounded by vineyards, far from the violence of their old world. Vivian opened a new gallery in Florence, smaller but successful. She created art that processed everything they'd been through, pieces about darkness and light, about redemption and love forged in fire. Jiho invested in legitimate businesses, using his sharp mind for legal ventures. He still consulted with law enforcement occasionally, helping them understand organized crime operations. But he was out of the life. Really, truly out. James stayed in their lives, making up for lost years. He was awkward at being a father, but he tried. That's all Vivian could ask. The day Kang Dawan was sentenced to life without parole, Jiho didn't celebrate. He just held Vivian close and whispered, "It's over. It's finally over." But it wasn't. Not quite. Because 3 months later, Vivian discovered she was pregnant. She told Jiho over dinner at their Tuscany villa, watching his face transform from shock to wonder to fierce joy. "A baby," he breathed. "We're having a baby. Are you happy?" Terrified. But yes. So happy. He pulled her into his lap. "A family. A real family. I never thought I could have this." "Well, you're getting it. All of it. Midnight feedings, dirty diapers, the whole mess." His laugh was free, unguarded. "I can't wait." Their daughter was born on a spring morning, all perfect fingers and toes and lungs that announced her presence to the world. They named her Mina, after Jiho's mother and in honor of everything they'd survived. Holding his daughter for the first time, Jiho cried. Great, heaving sobs that shook his whole body. "She's perfect," he gasped. "She's absolutely perfect." Vivian watched her dangerous, complicated, beautiful man fall apart with love for their daughter, and felt her heart swell. This was their happy ending. Not perfect, not without scars, but real. 5 years after that first contract, after blood on her gallery floor and a gun pressed to Jiho's head, Vivian stood in her Florence gallery at a special exhibition. The collection was called 7 Years. 17 paintings, the ones her father had used to hide his evidence, now restored and displayed as art again. But the centerpiece was new. A massive canvas showing 2 figures reaching across darkness toward each other. One figure was in shadow, one in light. But in this version, they were touching. Connected. Whole. Jiho stood beside her, holding 5-year-old Mina, who was chattering about the pretty colors. James was there too, playing the doting grandfather role with surprising skill. "It's beautiful," Jiho said softly. "But you know what I see?" "What?" "Us. Then and now. The shadow and the light becoming something new together." He kissed her temple. "Thank you." "For what?" "For signing that contract. For not running. For loving me when I didn't deserve it. For giving me a family, a future, a reason to be better." His eyes met hers. "For saving me, Vivian. You saved me first. Then we saved each other. That's how it works, right? Love as mutual salvation." Vivian thought about their journey. It had started with manipulation, obsession, and a contract that was supposed to be fake. It had nearly killed them both. But it had also given them everything. Each other. Their daughter. A life built on truth instead of lies. "Yeah," she said, leaning into him. "That's exactly how it works." That night, after Mina was asleep and James had gone back to his own villa nearby, Vivian and Jiho sat on their terrace under Tuscan stars. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Giving up the power, the empire, all of it?" "Never. Not for a second." He pulled her close. "I'd give it all up again in a heartbeat. You're worth more than any empire, Vivian. You and Mina, you're my real legacy. The only one that matters." "That's very romantic for a reformed crime boss. You're a good influence." He kissed her, slow and deep. "I love you. 7 years ago, 7 years from now, 70 years from now, I'll still love you. That's a long time. Not long enough." His hand cupped her face. "Marry me." Vivian laughed. "We're already married, you idiot." "I know. But let's do it again. A renewal. A celebration of everything we've survived. What do you say?" Looking into his eyes, seeing the love there, still intense, still consuming, but tempered now with tenderness, Vivian felt her answer in her bones. Yes. Again and always, yes. They renewed their vows in the garden of their villa, surrounded by flowers and friends and family. Mina was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. James walked Vivian down the aisle, tears in his eyes. And when Jiho saw her, when their eyes met across the garden, Vivian saw her entire future written in his gaze. 7 years ago, Jiho said in his vows, I watched you from across a library and fell in love. I spent those years in the shadows, protecting you, obsessing over you, waiting for a chance to make you mine. I got that chance in the worst possible way, blood and violence and a contract that was supposed to be fake. But Vivian, nothing about us has ever been fake. This love, this family, this life, it's the most real thing I've ever known. I promise to love you, cherish you, choose you every single day for the rest of my life. Vivian's vows were simpler. You're impossible and obsessive and you loved me in the most complicated way possible. But you also saved me, freed me, showed me what real love looks like. I choose you, Jiho. Today and every day. You're my home. When they kissed, Mina cheered, and the small gathering erupted in applause. This was their story. It had started with a contract signed in blood, with a gun pressed to his head and a promise of protection that was really a promise of possession. It had become something neither of them expected, a love that survived betrayal, violence, and the destruction of everything they'd known. And as they danced under string lights, their daughter giggling nearby, James watching with pride, Vivian thought about the title of their story. The Korean Mafia CEO hired a girl to be his fake girlfriend. She thought it was a deal, unaware he'd loved her for 7 years. But the real story was simpler, more profound. Two broken people found each other in the darkness and chose to build something beautiful in the light. And that, Vivian thought as Jiho spun her in his arms, was the only ending that mattered. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire incredible journey. If you loved Vivian and Jiho's story, if it kept you breathless, made your heart race, and left you believing in love that conquers everything, please smash that subscribe button. Hit the like button and comment below telling me your favorite moment. Was it the opening? The father reveal? The confrontation with Dowan? Let me know. Share this with anyone who loves dark romance, unexpected twists, and love stories that aren't afraid to go to dangerous, beautiful places. Your support means everything, and I have so many more stories to share with you. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most beautiful love stories start in the darkest places. Sometimes the person everyone warns you about is exactly who you need. And sometimes, a contract signed in blood becomes a promise that lasts forever. Thank you for being here. Thank you for loving these characters as much as I do. See you in the next video. Stay blessed.